Hi there, I'm Ed Watson. I'm a teacher from Gloucester, and I've just written a book, Top Tips for New Teachers, which aims to help new teachers entering the profession. It just condenses all the tips and advice that I've learnt from the years to date. So in today's episode, we're going to look at general advice. So there are a few key strands that we're going to look through. So the first one is be professional. The second one is take ownership. The third one is dealing with parents. And the last one is extracurricular activities. So teachers are role models. And what I've seen from my career so far is that the vast majority of teachers understand that they are role models. They are a public sector worker, and with teaching comes an extra responsibility. We are role models for the communities that we serve, and pupils look up to us as professional role models, and it's really important we never lose sight of that. So within the teacher standards, when we train, you've got two parts. The first one is related to the actual teaching. So part one is related to actual teaching, and the second one is related to our professionalism. So it's the second part of the actual teacher standards. It's really important that we never forget about it. Now, like I said, I'm probably preaching to the converted who already understand that teaching, with teaching comes that extra responsibility. But it's really important that we are role models, and that can be within the school, but it's also without the school. So, for example, if you enjoyed yourself on a Friday night or a Saturday night, potentially a bit too much, would you be happy for that behaviour to be documented and for that to be given to your school? Now, some of you might say, okay, well, that's irrelevant. What I do in my private life is private, and that should not be anything to do with the school. However, it absolutely is. We are role models. We uphold the reputation of our school, of our trust, of the profession. So we need to be absolutely mindful that when we're out and about, whether we like it or not, we do have that extra responsibility to be teachers, and it's really important that we never shirk that responsibility. And that's what I would think about. Would you be happy for that information, or for that video, for that photo to be shared with my school? Would that potentially cause me some issues if the pupils found out, or if other teachers found out, or if the head teacher found out? And just be mindful of that. Obviously, we've all got a life. Obviously, we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to do certain things, but just make sure that is done sensibly. The second one is to be humble. So, as I've said in a previous episode, a lot of us understand that we've got a lot to learn, and that when we go into the profession, even though we've got these amazing degrees in our own subject and we're experts in particular areas, we're new to teaching, and with that we're going into teaching, and there's a lot more experience around us. We need to be humble. If we go in and say, oh, I can do this and this, that and the other, and I'm going to absolutely walk this, and it's going to be a piece of cake, you could fall flat on your face. And it's really important that you understand teaching is difficult, and for many people it's often the first time that they've actually found something extremely difficult. Some people might have absolutely flown through school, got the GCSEs, got their A-levels, gone to some of the finest universities, got the finest degrees, and then go into teaching and they find it's extremely difficult. So be humble, take it slow, make sure that you listen to the advice of your colleagues. The final one that's talking about the role models I was talking about earlier, just be careful with your social media. So pupils are inquisitive and they're often very bored. So if we don't change the privacy settings, or we don't change certain parts of our social media, pupils will find it. And if there's nothing on there to hide, you've got no issues. If there's certain things that you wouldn't want pupils to find, then it'd be probably sensible to go through those social media settings and configure them so that you are a bit harder to find. And like I said, it's non-judgmental. I'm not trying to say this and be all high and mighty myself. It's just there have been instances that I've got in the book as well of people that have been caught out with it, and it can be quite nasty within the school, and it can put a bit of extra pressure on yourselves as teachers within a school if there have been a lapse in concentration. and pupils and teachers or schools have found out. The second one is take ownership. So take ownership of your own development, take ownership of your learning, and be proactive. So teaching is incredibly busy. Every teacher has got an awful lot to do. They might have their own families at home, but be proactive. If there's something that you want to do, make sure you take ownership of your own development. If there's a course that you want to go on, be proactive. Find out how much it's going to cost. Where is it? Can the school fund it? But ask those questions yourself, because you need to take ownership of your own career. The second one is take constructive criticism on the chin. So in relation to the previous slide where I was talking about being humble, you will get constructive criticism. You will make mistakes. You will get picked up on things to improve your teaching. Now, I cannot see how criticism or constructive feedback I can't see how criticism cannot be constructive. If you're a teacher, I think it's really important to listen to all the advice that you're given, because I think in the vast majority of cases it's done for the right reasons, and teachers are giving you that feedback to try and improve your practice. They're not trying to give you feedback to wind you up. They're not trying to give you feedback to make your life more difficult. They're trying to give you pointers that will help you be a more effective teacher. So listen to what they've said. You're new to the profession. They've got experience. Be humble and take their advice on board. Now, it might be that you've listened to their advice, you've tried it out a few times in your lesson, and it still doesn't have the desired impact that you want. That's absolutely fine, but you've given it a go, you've tried, and you've taken that advice on board. If you think you're the finished article before you've set foot in a classroom, and that no one's going to be able to critique your work, or no one's going to be able to give you feedback, it's going to be a really long slog for you, and it's going to hinder you developing those effective relationships with staff. So just be humble, listen to the feedback that's given to you by colleagues or your head of department or the leadership of the school. They are definitely trying to help you be a more effective teacher. And the last one is be reflective. So you will make mistakes. Make no bones about it, you will make mistakes. But the best teachers are ones that reflect. Okay, so this happened in my lesson this morning. What did I do that made that happen? Or what could I have done differently to potentially avoid that happening again? Constantly reflect. And then by doing that, the next time that scenario happens in your classroom, you're a lot more kind of susceptible to exactly how you're going to deal with that situation. It's not worth beating yourself up about it. It's, okay, this happened. Okay, what am I going to do about it? Okay, so let's reflect, talk it through with your mentor, talk it through with another colleague. Could I have done absolutely anything different? And again, it's about taking ownership. Could you personally have done anything different? It's no use blaming the wind, or blaming the rain, or blaming the fact that they've just come from a supply teacher, or blaming the fact that they haven't had lunch, or that they just had a fight at lunchtime. That stuff you can't control. But there is an awful lot of stuff that you can control. Were my transitions as tight as they could have been? Was my lesson prepared as well as it could have been? Was I meeting and greeting the students on the door? Was I being calm and unemotional, giving out sanctions? Was I making sure that I mean what I say? Was I making sure that my routines were absolutely on point, and that my behaviour was given ruthlessly consistency, and I was that electric fence that I was talking about in a previous episode? If all of that is there and you're being reflective on your process, you'll find that your development absolutely accelerates over time, and it's something that you don't ever lose. So just because you've become a qualified teacher, or you've gone through your NQT year, or later down your career, if you so wish to become a head of department, you're still constantly reflective. It's part of you personally that I think will help accelerate your professional development in whatever environment you're in. We've got two more. So dealing with parents, they have a massive impact. If you can get parents on board, they can massively help you within the classroom. They want to know if there are problems. So you might be occasionally scared to give that negative phone call because you might never have done it before. Like I said, if you build up positive credits in the bank and you've rung positively before, it is an easier phone call to have. But even so, they want to know if there are problems. And just get straight to the point. Be honest. If they're being difficult in your lesson, tell the parents. Be as honest as you can be, because then the parents will be able to support and deal with the issue. So don't try and skirt around the issue. Don't try and give them the message indirectly. Just be honest, be frank, and 9 times out of 10 they will be able to support you with that. The last one, okay, so extracurricular activities. It's really important that you concentrate on your teaching first. You're going to go into the profession, you're going to be super keen, you're going to be super enthusiastic, you're going to absolutely smash it. And people are going to notice that, and they're going to ask you if you want to get into doing extracurricular activities. Do you want to do this group? Do you want to do this group? Do you want to help out here? Do you want to do this? Now, they're doing it out of goodwill. They want you to be the best teacher, and they're trying to give you some extra experiences, but make sure you concentrate on your teaching first. I would strongly recommend you don't dive in and say that you're going to help with this club or that club for at least the first term. It's much easier to say yes than no. So it's much easier to say, oh yeah, I'd absolutely love to run the football club for the year 8s. But once you've got that, once you're now in charge of the year 8s, it's really difficult to go to the head of PE and say, look, I'm really struggling here. Can I take the year 8s off me? That's much more difficult. So leave it for the first term. Concentrate on your teaching. Ultimately, that is what you're paid for. You're paid to be a teacher. That is the bread and butter of the profession. And if you're not effective at teaching, you're gonna find it difficult. So nail your teaching first. Once your teaching is absolutely rock solid, then you can look at taking up some more opportunities. So again, just give yourself some time before jumping in with tons of activities. Okay, that's the end of this episode. And then in the next episode, we're going to look at career advice no one ever tells you about. So I look forward to speaking to you then.